Have you ever read one of those truly terrifying passages in the Bible and just thought, what on earth is going on here? Well, we're diving headfirst into one of those today. We're talking about the book of Revelation, specifically the moment the sixth seal is opened. And we're going to see how ancient thinkers tried to wrap their minds around this vision of absolute cosmic horror.
Now, just to be clear, this isn't about us trying to predict the future. Nope. Think of it like we're putting on a pair of historical glasses. We're going to see this incredible vision through their eyes, how they saw it, not just as some far-off prophecy, but as a mirror reflecting things that had already happened and a guide for what was still to come.
And the vision itself, it is just pure chaos. I mean, imagine a massive earthquake shaking the entire world. The sun just goes black, the moon turns blood red, stars start raining down from the sky, and the heavens, the sky itself gets rolled up like an old scroll. It is an absolutely terrifying scene. So, this was the big question for all those early interpreters. Were they supposed to take this literally, like a play-by-play of the end of time, or was there something deeper going on? You know, a kind of symbolic code that was meant to be unpacked. Let's see if we can crack it with them.
Okay, first step. Let's get into decoding these cosmic signs. Because for these thinkers, the sun, the moon, and that earthquake weren't just random acts of destruction. Oh no, they were absolutely packed with meaning.
So, these early commentators, they had a secret key for unlocking this whole vision, what you could call a dual lens. They believed these signs pointed backward to a very specific event in the past, the crucifixion of Christ. But they also pointed forward to a final great persecution of the church. And you can see this super clearly with a commentator named Osukemenius. He basically says, hey, look, we've seen this movie before. An earthquake, the sun going dark. He points out that these are the exact signs the Gospels say happened when Jesus died on the cross. So for him, a big part of this vision is about looking back.
But then, a thinker like Tychonius looks at that exact same image, the earthquake, and he sees the future. For him, it's not a literal tremor in the ground. It's a symbol. It represents a future persecution so intense, so world-shaking, that it will rattle the very foundations of the church. Same image, totally different time frame.
And that's the key here, right? These are symbols. So when the sun turns black, Tychonius argues that it means during this period of intense persecution, the truth and the power of Christ are going to be hidden. They'll be veiled from believers. It's like the light of the gospel just goes out for a while.
And what about the moon turning to blood? Well, that's another incredibly powerful symbol. Commentators like Tychonius and another one, Bede, they saw the moon as representing the church itself. Think about it. The moon reflects the sun's light, just like the church is meant to reflect Christ. So when it turns to blood, it symbolizes a time of great martyrdom, a time when the church will literally shed its own blood for its faith. This symbolic logic just keeps building, and it gets even more intense with one of the most striking images of all, the stars falling from the sky. For these ancient interpreters, this was a serious, serious warning about what happens to your faith when it's put under extreme pressure. The text itself gives us this massive clue. It doesn't just say the stars fall. It says how they fall. They are shaken loose, like unripe figs from a tree in a violent wind. That little detail, that metaphor, is everything. So what's the deal with the stars? Well, according to their interpretation, the stars aren't really stars. They represent prominent, well-known believers. You know, the people who seem to shine so brightly in the church. But when that great wind of persecution hits, what they called the wind of the devil, these shining figures just fall. They abandon their faith. And why do they fall? Well, the commentators explain it's because their faith is like that unripened fruit. It hasn't been tested, it hasn't been strengthened by what they call the heat of temptations, or made tough by grace. It looks good on the branch, but it's just not strong enough to hold on when the real shaking starts. So you've got this world in total chaos. Even the so-called stars are falling. And the people in the vision? They panic. They run for cover. But where they hide and what those hiding places actually represent is just as symbolic as everything else we've seen. And this is where it gets really fascinating, because there wasn't just one single interpretation for mountains. For some, like Caesarius, the mountains were the church, a place of safety and refuge. For others, they were powerful church leaders trying to escape persecution. And then you have Oecumenius, who thought they represented arrogant demons and proud people about to get their comeuppance. So, here's the bottom line. Everybody is hiding.
the good guys and the bad guys. But, and this is the crucial part, they are hiding for completely different reasons. The faithful are hiding in the church for protection. The wicked, the demons, the proud, they're hiding from God's judgment, trying desperately to escape the consequences. And all this chaos and symbolism, it's all building towards one final, terrifying climax, the great day of God's wrath. And it all boils down to one ultimate question. This is the cry right from the heart of the vision. People are so terrified of facing judgment that they are literally begging the mountains to fall on them, to just crush them. And then they ask the question that hangs over this entire story, who will be able to stand? Well, the commentator Bede provides an answer. And it's not about being some kind of spiritual superhero on your own. So how do you stand firm? Will you seek refuge by looking at the examples of others who are strong? You're strengthened by the advice of your community. You're sheltered by everyone praying together. And ultimately, you stand because your own failings are covered by God's mercy. It's a roadmap for spiritual survival. And this right here is the heart of it all. For these ancient interpreters, the sixth seal was never some kind of timetable for the apocalypse. It was a spiritual training manual. All that terrifying imagery wasn't meant to just scare people. It was meant to prepare their souls for hard times, to teach them about what real faith looks like, and to show them how to endure. So that kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? These thinkers, they lived in a world that they often saw as chaotic and frightening, and they used this deep, symbolic language to find meaning and hope in it all. It really makes you wonder, as we look at the earthquakes and falling stars of our own time, what symbols are we using to make sense of it all?